Every major economy faces the same question: open up or lock down? Free trade built global supply chains, but protectionism is making a comeback. This video compares both systems to answer one core question: which one actually builds lasting economic power? This is a debate that is as old as nations themselves, but is more relevant now than ever. Free trade versus protectionism. Which one truly builds a nation's economic power? Let's unpack this complex issue. At its core, the debate is simple. Free trade is like an open-door policy for the global economy. It's about removing barriers like tariffs and quotas, letting goods and services flow freely between countries. The big promise: efficiency. Countries specialize in what they do best, leading to more choices, lower prices for consumers, and faster economic growth for everyone involved. Think of the World Trade Organization or massive trade blocs like the European Union. Their whole purpose is to make this happen. For decades, the world has generally moved towards this model, believing that a rising tide lifts all boats. And in many ways it has. Global poverty has declined, and we have access to an incredible variety of products at affordable prices. But hold on, because there's another side to this story: protectionism. This is the idea of putting your own country's economy first by shielding it from foreign competition. Think tariffs on imported steel to protect local steel mills, or quotas on foreign cars to boost domestic automakers. The argument here is about security and self-sufficiency. Why should a country rely on others for critical goods like medicine, food, or technology? Proponents argue that protectionism saves domestic jobs, nurtures new industries until they can compete globally. This is called the infant industry argument and protects national security. It's the reason why, even in a globalized world, you still see countries fiercely protecting their agricultural sectors or key technology industries. Protectionism never really goes away because the fear of losing jobs and control is a powerful political force. So let's talk about the real-world impact when free trade works well. The effects are clear. A 2021 study by the Peterson Institute for International Economics highlighted how trade liberalization has boosted U.S. household incomes significantly over the decades. By lowering import costs, companies can reduce their production expenses, and those savings often get passed on to us, the consumers. You see it at the checkout counter. Your smartphone, your clothes, your food. Many of these are cheaper because of global supply chains. Furthermore, competition from abroad forces domestic companies to step up their game. They have to innovate and become more efficient to survive, which drives up overall productivity. It's a classic case of competition breeding excellence. However, the picture isn't always so rosy. The China shock of the 2000s is a prime example. As Chinese manufacturing boomed, many manufacturing hubs in the United States and Europe were hollowed out, leading to significant job losses and social disruption in those communities. This is the human cost of free trade that often gets lost in economic models. It's easy to talk about overall gains, but for the worker who lost their factory job, the pain is very real. This is where the appeal of protectionism kicks in. The promise to bring jobs back by imposing tariffs is incredibly compelling for those who feel left behind by globalization. But does it work? Let's look at some recent examples. During the trade disputes of the late 2010s, the U.S. imposed tariffs on a wide range of goods, from washing machines to steel. The idea was to boost American manufacturing. A study by the Federal Reserve found that while these tariffs did lead to a small increase in jobs in the protected industries, those gains were more than offset by job losses in other sectors due to retaliating tariffs and higher input costs. In other words, companies that used imported steel to make other products suddenly faced higher expenses, making them less competitive. The end result: higher prices for consumers and a net loss of jobs. It shows that in a deeply interconnected global economy, it's almost impossible to protect one industry without causing unintended harm to another. So, where does this leave us from an economic standpoint? The vast majority of economists still lean towards free trade, but with a big asterisk. The modern view is what you might call smart globalization. It acknowledges that while free trade creates wealth, it doesn't distribute it evenly. The winners win big, but the losers can be hit hard. Therefore, the key is not to build walls, but to build better safety nets. This means investing in robust worker retraining programs, strengthening unemployment benefits, and providing community support for regions negatively affected by trade. It's about managing the downsides of globalization while still reaping its immense benefits. You can't just open the floodgates and hope for the best. You need a plan to help those who get caught in the current. Looking to the future, the debate is shifting once again. The pandemic and recent geopolitical tensions have exposed the fragility of our global supply chains. Suddenly, relying on a single country for essential medical supplies or semiconductor chips seems incredibly risky. This has fueled a new push for what is being called reshoring or friendshoring, moving production back home or to allied countries. This isn't old-school protectionism aimed at saving every job, but a strategic move focused on resilience and national security. The goal isn't to cut off trade, but to diversify it and reduce dependency on potential adversaries. We're moving from a model of pure efficiency to a model that balances efficiency with security. So the future likely isn't a simple choice between pure free trade and complete protectionism. It's about finding a strategic middle ground. We'll likely see more targeted trade policies, where countries trade freely with allies but are more cautious with strategic rivals. We'll also see a greater emphasis on building resilient supply chains, even if it means slightly higher costs. For businesses, this means navigating a more complex and fragmented global landscape. For us as consumers, it might mean the era of ever cheaper goods is slowing down, but in exchange for more stable and secure access to the products we need. The economic tug-of-war continues, but the goalposts have moved. It's no longer just about building wealth, but about building resilient, sustainable, and secure economic power for the long haul. What do you think? Is a more strategic, security-focused approach to trade the right way forward? Or should we stick to the principles of pure free trade? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest topics shaping our world. See you next time.